All right, so what we have here is the failure to communicate. Okay, where are we on this? Okay, we got silicone engine over here. We got the pistons and that all installed. We'll be doing the heads. What I have over here is Major Tom's bottom end. God bless you, Tommy. I love you, man. And thank you for giving me the project to put up for all these young fellers to see how you do things. Now, even though we're not doing the crank and doing the balancing and stuff, right? This crank's good. It really feels good. I think this thing blew up once. Something blew up in this thing once, and somebody had done this crank once before. Honestly, I see all the signs of it. Remember, your motorcycle actually talks to you, man. And as you take her apart to the problem and clean the parts yourself, she will read out to you what happened. All engines, all motorcycles speak. This is God's gospel on this stuff. I'm not kidding you. There is no guesswork. Once you've taken something apart, you clean the parts and you start putting it back together, she'll read it all right to you like a book. So anyways, this is a S&S jig for holding flywheels. So you can play with them without putting them out of true and all that wonderful stuff. Unless you got an extra $1,000 US in your pocket, that's basically what the jig costs. And I'm up here in Kanakistan, where we got the Canadian peso. Yay! God bless Harper. Thank you for that dollar for dollar that we temporarily had. But I'm not going to get into the politic bullshit. Anyways, so what I did was I was pressing in the wrist pin bushing. And I didn't like the feel of it. It was just a little on that loose side. And the problem is, when these things heat up, because they do, they run hot, they're air cooled. Hey, we're stuck in traffic. It's 100 degrees above in the shade. I mean, shit happens. We're running air cooled engines. So anyways, I didn't like the feel of it. So I put some 2-thou over. So, you know, it does a bit of a squish in there, and it felt good. It felt a little tight, which is nice because it's not going to move on me now. I did not blueprint the rods. I had no room, and I don't want to get shit in his crank bearings and stuff. And I had no room. Getting in on that angle, yeah, I guess I could have, maybe, I don't know, sort of guess so. But this is a stock engine too. Whereas the silicone bike, it's a stock engine sort of, but I got 10.5 to 1 compression pistons in there with some, and we're going to do some funky headwork on there. And I have a 561 S&S cam. Now S&S rates that cam from 80 to 96. That's why it was the only cam I had for Junior's engine. This is my Junior's engine. And it's a 96 Evo solution. And I had the 561 because that's what I had for a cam. And it would work. And a brother of mine up the road there, he's a Viking. He is a Viking. He's a descendant of Viking. He's a Viking. At 70 some odd years old, I still wouldn't want to fuck with him, okay? Story. And his bike works great, and I think that was stock. It's a 96-inch hot setup S&S factory engine, blah, blah, blah. So 561 in here is, yeah, a little extreme. But they rate the cam for 80 to 96. The only reason I had that 561 and 96 because I know it does work and it works well. But the thing was, that's the only cam I had for that. But then I come across my brother. Yeah, And I'm helping him out doing some wiring up at his place. And we come across, he had an EV72 that's rated for 90 some odd inch and up, right? And he pulls this thing out, and he owed me some coin at the time, right? I'm like, okay, you don't owe me nothing, give me that frickin' cam. So the EV72 I like better for the 96. Now the EV6 or the S&S 561, a little extreme for an 80-inch engine, but this is a high compression engine. And yes, we're going to do some head work on this thing. So the 561 and a 96, it's the extreme for the cam. Okay, that's the end of the cam's rope, basically, for stats. You know, you got to understand that cam is a theory. Cams are a theory. These engines on paper do not run. If you engineer, you take the engineering of these engines, you put them on paper, they don't run, but they do. Cams, there is no cam science. It's all cam theory. So this is why we got these guys, these really cool guys, and one of my favorites was Doug Coffey, a Kanakistan man. I just love the man. I dealt with him for years. I've never met him. I've only dealt with him over the phone. Who the fuck am I? I've always been a small shop or whatever when I was running shops and stuff. But I was always treated great, and the guy is a head and flow scientist. That's all there is. He's old now, so he doesn't do custom work for you anymore, but he does still, I believe he still puts out packages, right? Doug Coffey. Don't forget that name. All right, that's headquarters. Headquarters up here in Kanakistan. So, anyways, yeah, so I got an extreme going in here, but I got something that's not extreme going in here that's more rated for this engine that I think is going to give Junior better power. So getting back to Tommy, I did line bore the cases, and like I said, just because I'm going to an oversized bearing, I don't really have to line bore at that time. But you know what? It doesn't hurt. You know, a project is not just slapping shit together. Okay? It's not just putting on these parts and saying, ooh, look at me. It's like these, you know those guys with the doodah rags that play biker? Okay, it's not like that. Right? Oh, I got a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And they don't even know what the hell they have. It's just whatever, something they read in Hot Bike or something, I don't know. Just, yeah, that always did bug me, and I had to bite my tongue so much when I was running a public shop, like both in Cowtown, out here, when I had my shop up the highway. I got calluses on my tongue from biting it. You know, because I don't want to insult anybody. It's like, dude, the only people like I couldn't deal with in my shop experiences, and I used to have a parts guy and everything else, so the only guys I couldn't deal with were these guys that used to come in. The yuppie movement was happening back in the 90s and the early 2000s and all that shit, and the only guys I couldn't really deal with were these guys with their gold cards, thinking their shit don't stink because they're coming in with money. Like, you want to bring that attitude to the man who is working on your motorcycle, that's fine. That works at dealerships because they don't give a shit about you anyway. And they won't work on the older stuff because it takes too long. There's too many cans of worms. You just find out too much stuff. They can't just book you in, book you out, okay? And if it takes longer, you're taking up time and space in their shops. And this is why a lot of the shops, it's not that just they're stuck up like a dealership. Most dealerships are. Not all. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying most. But it's like just the way they got it set up as a system. It's like I was complaining, whining about this muffler thing on my old truck. It was like, dude, hey, take a couple pipes, spin them, weld them together. Here, give me a tailpipe and throw a cherry bomb on the end. Ah, it's a 95 F-150. How hard can it be? My old 95, back when 95 was only 5 years old, when I did that on that truck, I went down to Mode's muffler. God bless you, Mode. I love you, man. You were the best. He's closed down since. He retired. I don't know why his son didn't take it over. But I went in there. He did hot rod custom exhausts on my kid's Camaro. He did, he did wonderful stuff. But anyways, I'm down there. We're 2-3 hours. He built this thing. Nice, beautiful, respectable exhaust. And it cost me, I don't know, it's $300-400. These clowns, a week and a half of waiting, and then they're quote me $2,400, $1,300, $1,100 fucking dollars. And it's like, are you kidding me? Now, excuse me for swearing. I confess it as sin, Lord. I get it out in Jesus' mighty name and claim my forgiveness. It's something I'm trying to overcome. Being a tradesman, being a kid off the street, and being a tradesman, both on construction and in motorcycle shops, this is something that I've been working on for a long time. I don't need to curse, but enough of that crap. All right. So, yeah, so I figured the 561's a little extreme in this, but it's 10.5 to 1 compression. I think it's going to work. And this EV72 is way more suited for this engine. Now, neither one of these guys bought these cams off me. Okay, this is my donation to their motorcycles. All right, so let's get that straight. They didn't pay for this shit, this stuff, right? So, okay, so I got Tommy's jigged in here on this flywheel jig. Now, the nice thing about this flywheel jig is it bolts one flywheel to this machine surface, and you're not gonna be putting stuff out of true. We will be checking the true on Tommy's, and that's where Big Bertha comes in. And I think I told you about Big Bertha. All right. So I took one of those big Campbell soup cans. I melted a bunch of lead in my wife's favorite. Okay, I ruined her favorite cast iron frying pan. I didn't know. Just whatever. I'm just a guy, right? So, and then I stuck my handle in. I think I got to redo it soon. Now, if you use brass whacking flywheels, you're going to dent you're going to dent your flywheels. Now, what some guys, the old timers, used to do is they'd wrap leather around their brass. But brass is not as dense as lead. Lead is even heavier than brass. And actually, when I redo this one, I might just wrap leather around it too. It doesn't dent the brass though, or it doesn't dent the flywheels. So that's what Big Bertha is. You just hold her by her ears. Don't be a pervert. You hold her by her ears and you just give her a tap and tap. You don't have to be too aggressive when you're truing in flywheels. But we are going to check Tommy's true. I'll true them in front of you if they're out. I'll show you what I do. Also, I use a press also for truing, but complete other story. I think I was using it on the silicon machine, and then I got them close, and then what I did was I just tapped them with my Big Bertha lead hammer there. So what I did was I put these 2 thou over bushings in, and I got a nice press fit now, right? But here's the thing. Now, I was telling you guys before, it's like, okay, yeah, you put this bushing in, now you got to hone it to fit the wrist pin, right? But the thing is, if you're off on any kind of angle on that, your piston's going to be like, Now, if anybody who's ever bought anything from S&S, they show how to build a tool and how you can bend the rod right? Listen, man. I want to get as close as I can without bending any freaking rods, right? So I got I got a couple of these. This is back in the day. I don't know if you can get these anymore, but this is made by Ramjet. If you can find one, grab one, right? So it's done. Ramjet is done with a ream, and I have the ream here. Oh, there it is. So this little kit, that's a great little kit. This little kit's designed to actually go on, bolt onto your case, right? So if you got a shovel head, you can just run a bolt in there or a nut on there. And if you have an Evo solution, you've got to have like some spacers and a bolt. Remember, I was using my Twinkie stuff there to hold. I think it was on this engine. Yeah, you just need like some spacers and a nut or whatever the case. But it's great. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to square up the rod to the side of the jig here, right? So what I did was I squared the rod up to the side of the jig, right? And you get these nice little Allen heads, right? And what the Allen heads do is they hold it in place, right? So I got these nice and square, and I spent some time just throwing parts of shit or just throwing something together is not, it just doesn't work that way. If you want to be sloppy about it, you got no zen, then just take your bike to a shop. But if you want to spend some time and do a good job on your bike, and it's these little things, all the little things you do in a project, they add up to something very big. But if you got a little here and a little there and a little there and a little there, and you always get a little something, okay? As careful as you want to be, as best as you wish to be, you always get a little something, right? But when you're taking care of all those little, say, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, then you're coming closer to perfection. Now, biblically, perfect means mature. So you're coming closer to your maturity as being talented and having the artistic hands that your motorcycle needs. She wants to work. You know, I see these things on YouTube, and they're showing like that the worst Harley engines ever built, and of course they put the shovel head in there. You know what? Those guys can go suck it. They can suck it. They're probably a bunch of yuppies that never worked on nothing in their life. Poor Harley had to go through AMF, and there was no quality control. And right now on these Milwaukee 8s, these four valve head things, they're going through the same shit. So like, whatever, dude. I love shovel heads. I love pan heads. I love knuckleheads. I even love early Sportsters. Yeah, right up to about 1970. Then AMF started changing everything. That's why I didn't like Sportsters. That's one of the reasons I didn't like Sportsters. Because in the early 70s, they kept changing fundamentals on them, like oil pumps and this and that. Things wouldn't interchange in them. I said, what kind of crap is that, right? And then so you get this young wannabe or whatever, and I got a Harley. It's like whatever it was back in the 70s and 80s. But when it came to fix it, they didn't want to put out to fix it. They were like a Brit rider. No offense, I love British motorcycles. I've worked on lots of them. But you Brit riders, you guys were looking, you wear out some points so bad, and then you come over to my place and you look in my used bin for a used set of points because you didn't want to spend $5 on a new set of points. And what it wasn't the points in themselves, and the same with the early Harleys, or the older Harleys, it was because you had so many shorts in your system you didn't take care of that it would kill the condenser, and as soon as the condenser was killed, the spark was too big and would burn your points out. And it's like these Harley riders, like when I first moved up here to Hillbilly Land, this is a fucking story. Sorry, Lord. Confess that I sin. Get it out in Jesus' name. Please forgive me. Sorry, I'm trying to quit cursing. So I got this guy. He's got this rigid frame. It's a 93-inch Sidewinder shovel head in a rigid. Okay, cool. Now you can never ride the thing more than 100 miles because the points were always going on. He was with this. There's this kind of this Mickey Mouse club that I kind of butted heads when I first moved here because they were just a bunch of... Anyways, I don't care. So the problem was they were running electronic coils, which are 3 ohm, on a point system, which is 5 ohms. So there wasn't enough resistance in the coil for the condenser. So the condenser would burn out and then the points would burn out. And you get like 100 miles. And it was a kickstart only bike, and it was just on and on and on. So it was super easy fix, man. It's like, but guys just throw things at things. It's like these new techies that we got now. You know, they just replace parts and hope they get it right. And it's at your expense. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, all right. So I used the jig very carefully. I got that jig squared up perfectly in line with the rod. And then I ran this ream through. Now I did run the ream through at a low RPM. Right? It's still not finished yet. Anytime you're honing, like the cylinders that we're honing over here for Tommy, or the cylinders that I hone for here, anytime you're honing something or reaming something, there's a heat, so everything expands on you. So you get her through, fine. You gotta let it cool down before you think that you're finished. Being really hot, I might be able to put that wrist pin through quite easy, but once it cools down, and the same with honing cylinders, which we're about to do Tommy's. I did the coarse hone on him. We're going to do the fine. I'm going to do the finishing. But so what may have fit when it was hot, or you go to measure something when it's hot. Hey, I'm there. I got within the thou that I need. Yeah, okay, nice. But then when it cools down, it shrinks. So don't get caught in that mess. That's a big warning. See, when this thing was hot, from me putting the ream through here, this thing would slide in a lot better than it is now. Now I knew I'd have to take off a little extra on this one. Oh. She's about 5/8 through. So she's over half through. So what you do is you let it cool down, then you run your ream through again. You let it cool down, you check your clearance. Now, even though the ream it's an X-Acto ream, the more you run it through, the more clearance it does give you, because you're working within less than 1/1000th of an inch. So you don't need much clearance. Like I think it's 0.0005 is the clearance on this shit, on this stuff, right? So that's where we're at. So I just got to finish up Tommy's, and what I want to do, the squareness of that bushing I want to show you, and that is important. You don't need to be fancy. You don't have to have $100,000 machines. You don't have to this and you don't have to that. And you know what you really don't have to do is listen to all the frickin' critics that have never done this in their life. All right, because you're always going to get the critics. You're always going to get the critics. Oh yeah, everybody knows everything. Let's see if I can... Come on. There we go. Oops. I know, I'm a boomer. Everybody hates a boomer. You know what I love about being a boomer? is the fact that everybody hates a boomer. I've never been a favorite. I was never a darling child. So I'm still where I need to be in life. Okay, sorry about that. Just give me 1 second here. Let's get that over just a hair. Let me see if that comes up. Okay, where are we? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna go to my left or right. The camera's backwards, right? So I'll just take her over just a little further. And I want to show you the squareness of the bushing itself. There we go. Am I there? What did I do? Fuck, I moved too far. Oh, did I move too far? Yeah, I did. Son of some kind of gun, as my brother's Polish uncle used to say. Alright. I know. I heard it all before. Don't care. Don't like it. Watch one of those fancy guys if you don't like it. Let's see if I can get. Ain't nothing fancy about Al. I'll tell you that right now. Just meat and potatoes over here, brother. That's all there is. But you know what? My engines rock and they roll. And I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, how about this? How about I just unplug this thing? I get like 35 seconds of battery life on this thing. So, here. Yeah. Well, that's going to be our next project that we're going to be pulling off. Okay. Some guard dog, eh? My lazy girl. Alright. There we go. We don't get the lighting, do we? Alright. I want you to notice how square this is. What I mean by square is how even it is all around the OD as the press fits in. Alright. That is what's really, really important on these. Yeah, you get started, and that's why I like that jig. If you can get one of those, it's worth having. Like we do at least 2 top ends before we even touch a bottom end on our hogs, right? And uh-oh, sounds like my boss is here. I'm just on film, babe. So we do at least. Oh, I can't see that. I think I'm ordered to go have a shower and be sociable or something. You know, if all I ever did was just hide in the shop. There we are. If all I ever did was hide in the shop and play with motorcycles, I'd be happy. Be happy, man. Even as an old dude, there was like a Harley shop out here. I mean, besides me. And they wanted to stick me in back with a cot, have a place to shower for me. I'd be in my glory. I'd be happy with that. So I'm hoping you caught that, but you see how square. So you got to get as square as you possibly can, otherwise your piston's going to be off on you. Right? Now after you got your initial cut, with this ring, it's tapered at the end. This does Sportsters as well. Sorry, Lord, I didn't mean to swear. This does Sportsters as well. And so once you've got it, you don't need the jig anymore. So now you can just run it through. And like any kind of honing procedure, whether you're lapping, or whether you're honing cylinders, or whether you're reaming something, the key is you've got to keep the speed down. Like we're going to be doing all these rocker bushings and stuff. So those I won't be using any kind of Milwaukee automation or any of that stuff. I'll be doing those by hand. And so the faster you go, the more you heat up, the more you heat up, the more you wear out your tool, by the way. And if you're using hones, the faster you go, the more you heat up, and then you start to wear your stones like a moon, right? And then you get this bushing that's like a moon. So yeah, the center's making contact where you want it, but the sides are way too loose. And that's something, I remember when I was a kid, you know, guys were using the little brake hones and this and that. That's something, yeah, no, don't work that way. So that is that. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'm just going to finish the honing of these bushings. Now I took Tommy's. Oh, geez, I didn't plug it in. Oh, that'll ruin the whole film. Dang it. Hang on. There we go. Oops. Like I say, I don't know how many minutes, but it's not very. Even when this thing was new, I didn't get very many minutes on it. What the heck? Oh, something else I want to show you about. Let's look at the silicon engine there for a second. Mr. Silicon JB Weld. I can't believe people are doing crap like that, man. I really can't. Mr. Silicon JB Weld. It's bullshit. That's not a swear, Lord. Springer now. No, bullshit. So do bears. I was walking my dog. Yeah, she's a bear dog by nature. Oh, and she goes nuts. I get beaten the feet off the trail. Up here in Kanakistan? Oh, yeah, I know. I don't want to go into the politics. So, on these, so if you have a wet primary, I'm just looking for another seal here. I'm sure I have one. Here, let's use this rubber one. This is a primary seal, but whatever. The point is, there's a wet primary going on this one. So if you notice, I got the seal inside out instead of outside in. If you're running a belt drive, you would run your seal the other way. And the reason is you got the crank pressure oil and you've got the primary pressure oil. Now back in the day when we ran tin primaries and stuff, we didn't have any real oil pressure on our primary side because it just came from our crank vent. You know, the crank vents we used to have, which now go to your carburetors because emissions and engineers and governments and all kinds of weirdos. So we'd have a crank vent. Our crank vent used to come here, and what it would do is drip oil on your primary. Now, here's something funky, and people don't understand. The whole idea of oil in the primary is not for the clutch, specifically. Now there are some Chinese clutch manufacturers saying, oh, well, that was okay. Alto, I think, is one of them. But, stock Harley clutch, the oil isn't for your clutch, and actually the oil screws up your clutch. Because it gets dirt and everything, right? And it starts to gum up your clutch plates. I'll show you guys, when I do this FLH, that's a 79 FLH, my favorite, one of my favorite years. But when we do this FLH, I'll show you guys how to clean clutch plates that actually work, no wives' tales included. I've seen guys rubbing these things on curbs, concrete and stuff, and it's like, you know, no, dude, it's done. It ain't gonna work, and it doesn't. But the oil is actually for your chain. That's the only reason it's there. And so back in the old days, this one time at band camp, anyways, back in the old days, they used to run a thin oil, like a 10 weight, 20 weight, whatever with thin oil. Now Harley back in the, was it late 70s? Sometime in the 70s, Harley started running it because you were running straight up 50 in your shell head. So Harley started running the oil through the primary and back up into the oil bucket. So now you're putting all your clutch residue and chain residue and sprocket residue into your oil bucket. Yay! That's real smart. Now things are different. They don't do that anymore, thank God. But they want to sell you this Harley oil, this primary oil, for too much money. And guys panic because they can't find it, or they're. You can run sport lube. There's an aftermarket sport lube, so it's good for Sportster tranny primaries as well as your primary. But dude, man, listen. I throw in 2050. I only run 50 in my bikes. I don't run 2050. It's too thin. It's not what I like. Yeah, okay, up here in Kanakistan, you're talking. If it's a colder spring, right? April or whatever, I'll run 2050 for a month or something before I throw my 50 weight in. And the only difference is if you're running a heavier oil, even you Twinkie riders, okay? Well, I only run synthetic 20, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Look at your frickin' manual. That's why I tell guys, buy a frickin' manual. It's the Bible of the bike you own. The creator of the motorcycle put it in their Bible. Everything is pretty much there. So you'll find out, you Twinkie guys, that and same with Evo Solutions and whatever. There's certain degrees calls for certain weights, and that's it, and that's all. So if you're 100 plus degrees out, you might even want to look at a 60 weight. Now up here in Kanakistan, I can get 70 weight, but I can't get